T-Rex82 here, back with another Empyrion Galactic Creator Studio update. I have been extremely busy lately with work, with the child, my daughter, and everything going on. I've been trying to do the 3D printing, which is starting to really come along. I'm quite excited about that. And I've been doing a lot of other updates, which I will get into a little bit later in this video. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, just because I do have a lot to cover. But let's kind of just jump right into it. First thing, if you like what I do, please subscribe, hit that like, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Also, I have created a Patreon page over on patreon.com/T-Rex82 for all of my followers who feel like they want to help me just a little bit more. Please feel free. Let's start a community over there. Things I'm going to be doing is be updating a lot of these builds that I'm doing, a little behind the scenes work, longer videos to kind of showcase my build style and what's going on. I'm going to be showing behind the scenes work on the 3D printing, me actually doing the printing and doing the painting and the final format. And the whole idea is I'm going to also, with those Patreon tiers, I'm going to be releasing my builds over there 3 days early before they go up on the workshop as well. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is a second livery or paint scheme, which is going to be available only to my patrons. But that is down the line, and I am just starting to dabble in that area. So I'm talking too much. Let's go ahead and start looking at a few things. So as far as the 3D printing is concerned, I have made a little bit of progress here. Just kind of show you a couple things. So I did find a way to extract what I thought were all of the assets from Empyrion by using UTinyRipper. It took probably 4 hours for that to happen, and then going through each one, I'm excited to find all the character models there. I'm seeing all the bugs, I'm seeing all that stuff, which I can take and put into a 3D object and then print. I'd have to refine them slightly, but that's for another day. The problem is, the things that I did need to make my life a little bit easier were not there. I have no idea where they're hiding. I looked everywhere in there. I couldn't find thrusters. I could not find any of the assets like the turrets or the turret base or the Gatling guns or anything that was going to make my life just a little bit easier. But it is what it is. So back to the drawing board. I have to hand model everything in Blender. So I guess it's not going to be as easy as I thought. But so, for instance, here we have, this is a scale to kind of show you. This is an M2 thruster, tiny. This took about 50 minutes to an hour to print. I do have a lot of processing to do on this, a lot of sanding and those kinds of things, but it is coming along. I did find one mistake on this, and I'll show you a little bit in a little bit exactly what that was and how I know how I can fix it now. So we'll go ahead and do that. Second thing up is going to be the Gatling gun. Tiny. Now this is as small as I could possibly get it. I ran into a lot of print failures and things like that. If I try to go any smaller with it, it does not work very well. I get a lot of stringing, I get a lot of losing detail and things like that. So luckily I was able to actually get it so that you could print it pretty flawlessly, and that will look good when it's painted. So we have that. We do have the base of the turrets as well. The idea with this is what I'm going to be doing is right in the center of this, I am going to be putting a pillar. It's going to be hexagonal. At the base of the turret head, whatever turret is on there, whether it's rocket or plasma or what, that's also going to have a hexagonal hole as well, so you can actually somewhat rotate it and place it the way you want to place it, for whatever you want to do with it. That starts leading me into all these other ideas, which are going to be far down the road. What I would like to do is a whole diorama. Have landscape, have the bugs, have the Xerax in there, and do a whole diorama. That is going to be a little costly. We'll see if that's something that I can tangibly do. But here's the biggest thing so far that I have to show. We have, finally, I'm going to have to back up for this. It's in 2 pieces, as you can see, 1 and 2. But once I affix them together, I think you guys, most of you, probably know exactly what that is. So there it is. That's the Matic at its base level. I do have to, again, fix them together, sand them, prime them, paint them, and this is the kind of thing that I'm going to be showing on the Patreon page as well. But I think it turned out pretty well. There's not a whole lot I'm going to have to do to it. As far as the sanding is concerned, it was pretty clean. The one issue that I have is I am going to have to reprint the front end of this. It's a simple mistake, and let me explain why. So, like in the back here, this area here is normally where all of the thrusters are going to be sitting. So these will go inside here, and I'll have to, you know, paint them, and I will have to glue them in and do all of that. This printed perfectly. Not an issue here. By the time the front end got done, it's the same thing on the back. As you can see, that's a solid block. That does not come out. That simply comes down to Blender. That was my mistake. It was something where I was inside of the ship and I was facing the polygons on here. And in Blender, it'll show you, if you're not paying attention, a face on both sides. So by the time it printed, because it printed like this, I couldn't see what was happening down there. So that is 100% filled in, and that needs to be a gap, just like the other one. So this is going to have to be reprinted. What I had to do is go in and reface all of the polygons so they face outside. It's easy. It was a 2-stroke, you know, couple buttons, and it's fine. But sadly, that is a costly mistake that I'm going to have to eat. But other than that, it came out pretty well. I don't know if you can see it, but we do have the cockpit inside of there, which came out pretty good, if I do say so myself. Again, I modeled it as closely as I possibly could to the original, and I do have that set aside for when I can start using it on other builds and things like that. So yes, there is the Matic. That is where we currently are. I'm going to use this as a test bench to probably do as a prototype before the final version is ready to go. So all in all, that took about 8 days for those to print together. But yeah, so there's that. Now, for the big reveal, if you want to call it that, let me jump over to the game here and we will take a look. I have been working very hard on a lot of things with Alpha 12, especially recently, since I know today Empyrion had finally announced that we're going to be moving out of the alpha stage soon. I think I have mixed feelings about that. There's a lot of things that need some severe attention, things like AI intelligence. It's just not there. It needs a whole new overhaul and rework or balancing or something. It's just, I want something where it's a challenge, and these things are not a challenge at the moment. And I know there's a lot of other things with speaking with some of the developers that they want to implement down the road, and I hope they can still do that. I think this is just kind of transitioning into a beta stage, and it's still going to develop a lot further. But I do know of a few things that they had talked to me about, which I don't think I can really say at the moment, but that are in the pipeline that will be game-changing and will be amazing. So we'll see what happens with that. So I have been doing a lot of updating my older builds, and I had promised a couple people that I would be doing that for Alpha 12, and I am going to show you what I have got here today. So as you can see in front of me, we have this giant ominous looking hangar. Let me actually get into my game, and again, I do apologize for the clicking. It's the best I can do at the moment. So let's head on in. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Open the doors. Oh, yes. Can you guys tell what I've got in front of me already? No? Can't? Good. That was my plan. Let's head on up. Oh, yeah, this hangar, I built as a showcase hangar. I might actually turn this into a functional game hangar, though. It does look kind of fun. So let's head up to the top. Boo, boo, boo. A lot of stairs. All right. Here we go. All right, you guys. Are you ready? I think you guys can tell at least what two of these are. Here we go. Boom. All right, so I have completely updated for Alpha 12 the MCRN Karkanos, the Nyx, which I am now calling this the Alpha 12. It's the Nyx Assassin. And I have redone the Chaos Mark II as well. I have taken into a lot of consideration the things that people have been worried about with the first set of these ships as well, and I've kind of upgraded on those. So let's go ahead and jump into God mode here and take a quick look. The Nyx Assassin got a complete overhaul as far as styling is concerned. I figured, why stop there? Why just go ahead and update it so that it can do what it did before? This is a moment. This is an opportunity. I might as well take it. So as you can see, I've kind of added these little winglets on the side. There is landing gear underneath that is attached to those. I think it works. I think they look pretty good. It gives it more of an aggressive feel. I have bumped out the side cowls here to allow for more forward thrust. The biggest thing that this problem that this had originally was the forward stopping. It just didn't have it. So that's something I took into consideration. It stops on a dime now. No issues. I added a little bit more of the side thrust. This thing turns extremely well compared to its predecessor. Extremely well. And also it rolls really well, probably because I completely gutted out the old system and threw in these monsters. Yeah, this thing can really turn on a dime. Now, you're probably wondering, well, where the hell did he put the ability to put all of the container extensions? Because before, you didn't need them, and this whole thing was a solid block. It still is a solid block, let's be honest. But what I have done is I have thrown them underneath. So you can see underneath here, you've got all of these bay doors, and inside there are your container extensions. Now, you can put as many as you need in there. I believe this is going to, don't quote me on this, I think it's going to be a CPU tier 2 when I release it. That's when I strip all the guns off of it and basically put the base necessities in it. It's going to not have the warp drive in it, not have the shield generator in it, because I want this to start as a starting vessel, and then, like the old one, it's something that you build along with your gameplay. But this gunship, I tell you what, the amount of punch that this thing packs, I mean, you've got all of those weapons up there. You've got these two here. You've got this here, one on both sides. You have the entire front end, which is just loaded to the max. There's no stopping this. This is why I'm dubbing this the Nyx Assassin. So we have that. What else have I done? Yes. Oh, forward thinking. All of these, I have gone ahead and made sure that there are no thrusters being blocked by any blocks. If that is something that Empyrion does implement, I want to make sure that that's not something that I have to go back and do. So I did do that. So you should have no issues, except maybe with this one, now that I'm looking at it. Darn it! Oh well. We'll deal with that when we get to it. So yeah, so there is that. In the back, it's going to be exactly the same. You've got your basic necessities. You've got your O2 tank, your armor locker. Ooh, I got to paint those up there before I release it. Probably be a good thing to do. For ammo and this. So we're looking at about 9,000 capacity on just your regular cargo. And you have a capacity of 200 on the ammo. Now, I did test this. I loaded a fair amount of ammunition for every weapon on here. Had no issues. I had plenty of rounds. Not a problem there. So this thing will take off like a bat out of hell. Oh yeah, also I've I've upped the amount of engines on the back, so this thing flies amazingly. Still have those there, and I have completely reworked the styling. Before it was just these uprights and that. I wanted to really make sure that this sets apart from the rest. So I have actually implemented... Oh yeah, so I removed the front top cockpit because a lot of people play solo. There's no reason to have a second one there, so I completely removed it, added in some styling, and then I added this top section, and it's almost like a cage. So it does still have, down inside there, a spot for your shield and for your warp drive. They are still there, but they're a little bit more protected. Not that you're probably going inverted and fighting, but it is there for that reason. Once you get a shield on this thing, it's just absolutely, completely unstoppable. But yeah, so there it is. That is the Nyx Assassin, and that will be out again for my Patreons very shortly, and then it will go on to the Steam Workshop after that. That brings us on to the A67 Chaos Mark II. Not a whole lot was done with this. I was really trying to figure out how I could change up the styling on it, and I didn't really need to, so I left it as is. This one I did, however, have an issue with the O2, the oxygen back here, and having this being a sealed compartment. Turns out down below there was an issue which I have now fixed. Actually, oops, I loaded in the wrong one. Oopsie. Oh well, I do have one. Take my word for it. The only difference is down the bottom, those are not there. Those are blocks to kind of seal this in, and I just kind of updated the layout there, but everything else is exactly the same, and it works unbelievably well. So yes, so there is the A67 Chaos Mark II. And then, of course, the MCRN. Now, the Karkanos, I had to overhaul this a little bit. Now, I didn't have any room to do anything on the sides or the top, because as we all know, this is mountable to Jay Randall's small vessel that we kind of created separately but together. He created his small vessel, I created this upper tank. I wanted to give this a little bit more life. I wanted to make this look absolutely menacing, and I wanted it to take hits like nothing else. So what did I do? Before, the old version had the bully bar, which is just this little small section back here. I have ripped that out. Well, not really ripped it out, but I have completely upgraded it to having this front, if you want to call it plow, cage, whatever. This thing, if you start throwing that on there with some hardened steel blocks or anything else, this thing's going to take some hits. It's just going to be unstoppable. You do, of course, have all the same turrets up there. The version that I'm going to be releasing on the workshop is going to just have the one, just to keep it low enough for you to kind of, I think it'll be into tier 2 at that point, or maybe tier 3. I'll have to look, but it'll be tier 2, I'm assuming. And then you can, of course, add the others in later. Now, one of the biggest complaints that I had on here, and I didn't even realize it when I did it, was that there was not enough oxygen tanks inside. So I did rework the inside just a little bit. Number one, I have gone ahead and removed the drone bay that was here and made it just a little bit bigger. I was having a real hard time getting this to work properly. I have marked the area that you need to stand in order to get the drones to actually function and get out the top, because before it was a lot of trial and error and it wasn't working very well. So we do have all the same stuff back here. We have the drone bay up there, but I did add in, where is it? Yes, some more O2 tanks back here. Trying to think. Ammo, that's the same. Just kind of reworked this a little bit, added in the armor locker over here. And in here, you can put your CPU upgrade for tier 2. And up front here in these bays is where you can put your CPU upgrades for tier 3 and 4 as well. So you can load this thing out to the max. And of course up top you've got your pentaxid tank, that is where that was before, your shield. Everything else is pretty much the same other than the styling and those few little upgrades, but I think that takes it to the next level. So just kind of give you a showing of where we came from and where we are now. Let's go ahead and bring some lights up in here. Excuse me. All right, let's bring some daylight and out back. Got a little, just kind of a side by side. So we have, this is where we started. For both of those, there's the Nyx and the Karkanos. Now I did mention earlier that the Patreon is going to possibly have a different paint scheme available. So any patron that I have will be able to download that as a possibility as well, and I'll have them clearly marked as well. So what I have come up with is these. I'm really starting to dig the camo look on these. I still like it kind of being that monochromatic grays, blacks, that kind of a thing, with the red that really pops it. I think it looks absolutely military and menacing and wonderful, and I think it really looks good on the Nyx Assassin as well. But yeah, so these are going to be available to my patrons. The other ones I will still be putting up on the workshop as well. There's absolutely no difference between the functionality. It's just going to be a paint job. That's it. So yeah, just kind of give you a demonstration on, let's take the Nyx out for a spin. Why not? Let's go ahead and lift off. I mean, look at this roll. Look at this. Not, if you flew the old Nyx, this thing just, it did not do that. It did not. And of course, you got a full load of weapons on here, and I'm not going to blow everything up. I'm tempted to, but I will not. I mean, look at this. Look at that. This is a big damn ship too, and it can still do that. So it should have no issue in a 4G environment. Don't take my word for it, but it should have no issue. But yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, there we are. I know it was a little bit longer than we really wanted. But again, I had a lot to cover, a lot of things going on, and with work and everything else, I'm managing to fit it in. I don't know how. But thank you all for joining me. Thank you for watching. Hit that like, subscribe button. And like I said before, join me over on Patreon if you want to. And until next time, keep your heads above the hard deck. I will catch you later.